If you're watching this, pay attention. This isn't for just anyone. Not everyone is ready for what's coming next. Alchemy has never revealed itself to those who weren't prepared. It has always been hidden in plain sight, disguised in symbols, metaphors, and coded texts that only the truly awakened could decipher. But why so much mystery? Why has this knowledge been veiled for centuries? The answer is simple: because it can't be given to just anyone. Since ancient times, the great masters knew that alchemy wasn't just about transforming metals, it was about transforming the self. It was a dangerous path for those who tried to access it unprepared, because the truth doesn't come without consequences. And those who dared to touch sacred knowledge without being ready were consumed by the very fire that was meant to transmute them. And now I ask you, do you feel that fire burning inside you? Because that is the first sign. The call of alchemy isn't random. It finds those who are already prepared to see beyond the illusion, those who no longer accept living on autopilot, running in the same cycles, trapped by the same limitations. And if this knowledge has found you now, it's not by chance. But before we continue, there's something you need to understand. Nothing in your life happened by accident. The pain, the challenges, the repetitions, everything was part of a test, an unconscious process of refinement. Just like raw metal must be burned in fire to become gold, your soul has gone through experiences that have prepared you for this moment. And now we've reached the point that defines everything. Are you ready to step through the portal? Because there's no turning back after this. What you are about to discover may forever change the way you see the world, but only those who are truly ready will be able to understand. If you feel this is your moment, come with me. The journey begins now. The first portal, the death of the old self, Nigredo, chaos, and dissolution. The first portal is the hardest. Most people back out before even taking the first step, because crossing it means dying, not physically, but in an even deeper way. It means letting go of everything you believe yourself to be: your name, your story, your certainties, your beliefs. Everything must crumble so that something new can be born. This is the beginning of true alchemy. And this phase has a name: Nigredo. Chaos, dissolution. The moment when everything impure must be burned away, because you can't build a new identity on rotten foundations. If you feel like your life is falling apart, like nothing makes sense, like old wounds are coming back stronger than ever, pay attention. You're not being destroyed, you're being refined. But this process isn't for everyone. It demands total surrender. Because one thing must be clear: you cannot become something new while clinging to what you once were. Paracelsus, one of the greatest alchemists in history, was rejected, discredited, called crazy. Isaac Newton spent years in isolation, buried in texts on alchemy and the occult, trying to understand the secrets of the universe, while his mind drifted between genius and obsession. Zosimos of Panopolis, the first alchemist in Western history, had terrifying visions. In one of them, he saw his own body being torn apart, undone, reduced to nothing, only to be reborn in a purified form, as if recreated by divine fire itself. Does that scare you? It should, because crossing this portal means there's no turning back. You can't carry your old beliefs into the new reality. You can't transform while still clinging to the old version of yourself. If you want a new life, you must be ready to let the old one burn. What's holding you back? Fear, attachment to who you've always been, the illusion of control. Everything must die before it can be reborn. This is the law of alchemy. The second portal, internal illumination, Albedo, the purification of consciousness. The chaos has passed, but something inside you is still burning. You feel like you're no longer the same person. There's a strange silence where certainty used to be. The old identity has been burned away, and now all that remains is emptiness. But this emptiness is not a mistake. It's necessary. This is the second portal. Internal illumination. The fire of Nigredo consumed what needed to go. Now comes purification. But purification doesn't mean everything will immediately feel light and peaceful. No. First, you need to learn to be with this new version of yourself, without distractions, without masks, without escape. The ancients called this phase Albedo, the moment when darkness begins to make way for light. But this light doesn't come from outside. There are no more ready-made answers, no more borrowed truths. Everything you need to know has been inside you all along. The problem is, you never knew how to listen. Your whole life, the world has taught you to seek answers outside yourself. Books, gurus, opinions, dogmas. You were trained to believe that truth comes from something or someone beyond you. But the wise ones of Egypt already said, true knowledge does not come from outside, but from inner silence. And that is exactly what this portal demands of you, silence. But understand, silence is not just the absence of sound. True silence is internal. It happens when you finally stop running from yourself, when you sit down, close your eyes, and face everything that is still inside you. All the fears, all the doubts, all the voices implanted in your mind that you believed were your own. Have you ever noticed how your mind never stops? How it bombards you with endless thoughts, memories, projections, judgments? It never gives you peace because it was programmed to keep you distracted. But now, distraction no longer works. You have passed through the fire. There's nothing left to hold on to. Now, either you face your own consciousness or you remain trapped in the echoes of the past. Close your eyes. Breathe. Just observe. Don't try to fight the thoughts. Don't try to silence them by force. Just watch. Because the more you observe, the more you realize that these thoughts are not you. They are echoes of your old identity, remnants of what has already burned away. But now, you no longer need to react to them. You can simply watch them pass. And in that moment, something shifts. You realize that you are not the voice in your head. You are not the memories, the traumas, the doubts. You are the one who observes it all. And when this understanding settles in, a deep clarity arises. A lightness, as if an invisible weight has been lifted. This is what purification means. It's not about being perfect or never having negative thoughts again. It's about no longer identifying with them. Are you ready to move forward? The third portal, alignment with universal truth. Clarity has arrived, but something still feels incomplete. You realize you can no longer see the world the same way. But then the question arises, what is real? After crossing Nigredo and experiencing the silence of Albedo, you are no longer the same. Your thoughts have changed. Your emotions no longer react in the same way. But what about the world around you? Has it changed too, or has your perception simply expanded? This is the third portal, alignment with universal truth. Here, something begins to reveal itself. You realize that you are not just awakening to a new internal state, but to a new structure of reality. The pieces are falling into place. What once seemed random now makes sense. You look at your own story and see patterns, repetitions, signs that were always there, but your old mind couldn't interpret. The ancient masters called this knowledge the laws that govern the universe. Hermes Trismegistus, the legendary sage of Egypt, recorded these teachings in the Seven Hermetic Principles, the invisible forces that shape everything that exists. And now you begin to see them operating in your own life. The principle of mentalism says that everything is mind. The universe you see, matter, time, space, all emerge from a great consciousness. This means your reality is not fixed. It is shaped by the way you think and perceive. The principle of correspondence makes you realize that what's inside you is reflected in the world outside. The anger you carry attracts conflict. Fear creates invisible barriers. Inner peace manifests paths that were once inaccessible. Your external world was never random. It has always been a reflection. The principle of vibration makes you feel that nothing is still. Everything is in constant motion. Emotions, thoughts, energy. Everything vibrates, and each vibration attracts what resonates with it. If you vibrate in scarcity, you attract limitations. If you vibrate in abundance, you start seeing opportunities where you once saw obstacles. Reality shapes itself to your frequency. The principle of polarity reveals that everything has two poles, and these poles can be transmuted. Cold and hot, fear and courage, love and hate. They are just extremes of the same thing. When you understand this, you realize you can transform your emotions and thoughts simply by shifting your position on the vibrational scale. The principle of rhythm shows that life moves in cycles like the tides of the ocean. Everything has a flow. There are moments of expansion and contraction, rising and falling. Resisting the natural rhythm of life creates suffering. Accepting and understanding this flow allows you to move with it instead of fighting against it. The principle of cause and effect teaches that nothing happens by chance. Every thought, every action generates a result. The life you have now is an effect of causes that you yourself created, consciously or unconsciously. And this is not a sentence, but a power. If you change the cause, the effect will inevitably change. The principle of gender explains that everything in the universe has both masculine and feminine aspects. These forces are not about biological gender, but about energetic qualities. The masculine is action, impulse, creation. The feminine is reception, nurturing, intuition. When these forces are in balance within you, your life flows with harmony. But understanding these laws is not enough. You have to feel them. Your body feels lighter, your mind is clearer. Your spirit no longer drags itself the way it used to. Do you feel this harmony, this new vibration? This is not coincidence, it's alignment. The fourth portal, the power of the word and the materialization of reality. Now that you understand the laws that shape reality, something becomes clear. You are not just a spectator of the universe, you are a co-creator. Every thought, every emotion, and above all, every word you speak contributes to the construction of your experience. This is the fourth portal, the power of the word, and the materialization of reality. The ancients already knew that words carry immense power. In ancient Egypt, this force was called Heka, the magic of the spoken word. Egyptian priests believed that everything in existence was created through the voice of the gods. Sound wasn't just communication, it was a tool for manifestation. To speak was to shape reality. To name something was to bring it into existence. But this isn't just an ancient belief. Today, science has proven that sound vibrations influence matter. Experiments with sound waves show that different frequencies can reorganize physical particles, forming either harmonious or chaotic patterns depending on the vibration emitted. Sound creates order or disorder. Now think, how many times have you used your own words against yourself? How many times have you repeated phrases like, "I never succeed," "This isn't for me," "My life has always been hard," and then wondered why the same situations keep repeating? You are programming your own reality with every word you speak. Let me share a short story that illustrates this lesson. In a distant village, there was a craftsman named Omar who spent his days carving wood. His work was admired, but he always said, "This isn't good enough." Years passed, and despite his talent, his life never changed. His hands created, but his words destroyed, until one day a wise traveler observed him and said, "Every word you speak is a strike against your own destiny." That day, something shifted. For the first time, Omar looked at his work and said, "This is my best creation yet." At first, he didn't believe it, but he kept repeating it. Days later, his hands carved with more precision. His work came to life. His art began to be recognized in distant lands. What changed? It wasn't the wood, it wasn't the tools, it was the word. Now, ask yourself, what have you been saying about yourself? The fifth portal, the fusion of opposites, the balance between matter and spirit. The transformation doesn't stop here. You've already realized that you can no longer deny the truth. The external world reflects what happens inside you. But what about within you? Is there harmony or conflict? This is the fifth portal, the fusion of opposites, the balance between matter and spirit. Alchemy has always taught that true power doesn't come from light or darkness, but from the integration of both. Gold is only born from the perfect fusion of opposites. There is no creation without destruction, no clarity without shadows, no reason without intuition. In occultism, this union is represented by the Rhesus, the androgynous being that symbolizes the fusion of masculine and feminine within each of us. It is not just an image, it is a state of consciousness, A perfect balance where you accept all parts of yourself, the ones that show strength and the ones that reveal vulnerability. But can you truly accept this? Since the beginning, you were taught that parts of you needed to be hidden, that feeling fear was weakness, that being sensitive was fragility, that being too rational distanced you from spirituality. You were pushed to extremes, but now you see that extremes only create more separation. True power lies in fusion. The fire of transformation and the water of intuition must coexist. The energy of doing and the energy of being must walk together. You don't have to choose between matter and spirit. You are both. The entire universe is balance. Day and night, sun and moon, the active and the receptive, chaos and order. Everything moves in perfect rhythm. And now, the essential question. Can you love all parts of yourself, even the ones you once rejected? If the answer is yes, then you're ready for the next step. The sixth portal, the encounter with the inner master. You have accepted all parts of yourself, the shadow and the light, reason and intuition, chaos and order. Now, something shifts, a new silence emerges, but this time, it's not empty. It is filled with a presence that once felt unattainable, absolute awareness. This is the sixth portal, the encounter with the inner master. The journey has been long. You have passed through the fire of Nigredo, dissolving the old identity. You have experienced the silence of Albedo, purifying your perception. You have understood the universal principles, learned to harness the power of the word, and found balance between opposites. But one last trace of the old world remained, the illusion that knowledge comes from outside. The ancient alchemists knew that no truth can be taught. It can only be remembered. That is why they always hid the secrets of the great work in metaphors and symbols. They knew that those who were not ready to see would never see. Hermes Trismegistus, the father of the Hermetic tradition, made this clear. The lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. This means there are no external gurus. No one can give you the truth. The greatest masters in history never wanted followers. Jesus, Buddha, Lao Tzu, Pythagoras, Socrates, all of them pointed to the same path, awakening your own consciousness. None of them wanted to be worshipped. They didn't want you to follow them. They wanted you to find within yourself what you had always been searching for. Carl Jung called this process individuation. The moment you become who you truly are, free from the world's projections. But how do you know if you've arrived? Since childhood, everything around you has tried to tell you who you should be. Society imposed rules. Your family projected expectations. Religion gave you dogmas. School conditioned you to obey. But who were you before all of this? Who were you before you were given a name? Before you were told what was right and wrong? Before fear and limitations were planted in you? The inner master was always there. It was just buried under layers of mental programming, under beliefs that were never truly yours. You became a prisoner of ideas you never chose, but now you are waking up. Before, inner silence was uncomfortable. You tried to fill it with distractions. Now it has become sacred space. Now you feel that every answer you've been searching for was inside you all along. Doubt begins to fade. You no longer need the approval of others. You no longer need external validation. The voice within you grows stronger, and for the first time, you trust it. And in this moment, something incredible happens. The external world begins to respond differently. Before, you sought answers in books, in teachers, in teachings. Now, you realize that true learning doesn't come from absorbing knowledge, but from experience. You don't just know, you feel, and then a revelation arises. What once seemed mysterious is now natural. What once seemed distant is now here. And for the first time, you understand. I am the master I have always sought. Now, you are ready for the final portal. The seventh portal, the Philosopher's Stone and the final illumination, Rubedo, the ascension of spirit. Now, everything is clear. What once felt like an endless search has finally been revealed. True alchemy was never about turning lead into gold, it was about transforming yourself. This is the seventh portal, the Philosopher's Stone and the final illumination. For centuries, seekers chased the legend of the Philosopher's Stone, the mystical substance said to grant eternal life, unlimited wealth, and absolute power. But the true alchemists always knew this was just a metaphor. The stone was never an object. The stone was always a state of consciousness. Rubedo, the final stage of the great work, represents the ascension of the spirit. The moment when everything that was dissolved, purified, and balanced finally crystallizes into a new form, the reborn being, the enlightened alchemist. But what does this mean in practice? It means that now your perception of reality has changed forever. You no longer feel like a prisoner of chance. You no longer wait for life to change. You are the change. Your gaze holds the certainty of someone who has found their own power. Your words, your actions, your energy vibrate on a different frequency, and the world around you starts to respond. Opportunities appear, doors open, synchronicities intensify. This isn't magic. This is the law of vibration in action. You no longer just understand the universal principles. Now you embody them. You don't try to manifest, you manifest. And then the ultimate question arises. What will you do with this power? Because here's the final secret. The journey doesn't end here. You may have reached the end of this initiation, but alchemy is an eternal cycle. The great masters, like Hermes Trismegistus, always taught that there is no final destination. Enlightenment is not a place you arrive at. It is a state of being that continues to expand. Do you see it now? What once seemed like an ending is actually a new beginning. Transformation cannot be undone. One who sees can never unsee. But here's what separates a true alchemist from a mere scholar. What you have learned must be lived. Knowledge alone is not enough. Knowledge without action is useless. Now that you have passed through the 7 portals of transformation, what will you do with this power? How will you use this new perception? True alchemy doesn't happen in hidden laboratories or secret texts. It happens in the way you live, in the way you think, feel, and act in the world. Will you become just another seeker, collecting information, or will you apply this wisdom in your daily life? That choice is yours. The final lesson of alchemy is simple. Anything that isn't applied is lost. The transformation you've experienced must be sustained. The knowledge you've received must be shared. Not because you need to preach or convince others, but because true enlightenment shines naturally, without needing to be imposed. People will feel your change. They will notice the shift in your energy. Some will be drawn to you, others will distance themselves. That's part of the process. A true alchemist doesn't seek acceptance, he simply is. But now what? What's the next step? Now that you understand the laws of the universe, how will you apply them to your life? How will you use this wisdom to create the reality you desire? How will you help others awaken to their own transformation? And most importantly, are you ready to take full responsibility for being a conscious co-creator of your existence? Because now, there is no turning back. If you've made it this far, it wasn't by chance. Something inside you already knew this was the path. Alchemy isn't for everyone. But if you're here, maybe it's because you were always meant to walk this path. The next step isn't written, it's waiting for you to create it. Now, the decision is in your hands. Will you cross the final portal? But before you go, there's something important waiting for you. I've prepared a special video to help you take the next step on this journey. A deep dive into everything we've talked about, showing you how to apply this wisdom in a real and practical way. So don't leave just yet. Click the video on your screen right now, and I'll meet you there. See you on the other side.